So, firstly, I thought I was going to come here and speak about a subject that I usually talk about, which is the mind, manifesting, spirituality. But then my good friend and Mindvalley author Reagan Hillier covered that yesterday. So I messaged Darius at the last minute and I said, I actually want to give a different talk. I want to share with you something that I've never shared outside my Mindvalley community before, okay? So those of you who know about Mindvalley know that we've been growing like crazy in personal growth. What I want to share are 5 principles that I bring to my team to allow them to be innovative, to allow individuals to rise to greatness, to allow us to move with speed, to grow, to allow our members to grow in their career, and to allow our team to work cohesively. These are rules and principles that I discovered through trial and error. Look, I was not a natural entrepreneur. The first 5 years of starting my business, I made less money than if I just never quit my day job. The next 5 years, so now we're talking all the way to year 10. The next 10 years of trying to build a business, I almost went bankrupt 3 times. And the co-founder of my company and I got into a spat and we almost dissolved the entire company. So I wasted a decade trying to figure it out. But the second decade, through trial and error, there were certain rules which I stumbled upon that really worked. And these rules caused a tiny little business, that is the original website that I created in 2004 to sell Silva Method meditation CDs. I was just an affiliate marketer, right? And if you know what an affiliate marketer is, we're like the bottom of the internet marketing pyramid. I was simply selling CDs of a program that I was passionate about and collecting an affiliate fee. 20 years from that, we have our app selected by Apple to be a demo app on iPhone 16 in 200,000 Apple stores globally. And I'll show you that in a moment. What I want to show you is what I learned not to do in the first 10 years and what I did right in the next 10 years. So again, I'm not a born entrepreneur. When I think about the first 10 years, I have so many regrets. I had so many mistakes. I'll share some of these with you. But I also, through trial and error, stumbled upon a couple of things that really, really, really work. And this is what I'm sharing with this audience outside our Mindvalley circle for the first time today. So you're the first audience I've ever shared this with, other than my team and my community. You guys ready to go? So I'm going to be sharing 12 rules. When a new person joins my team, I sit them down. I sit all our new hires down every quarter, and I teach them 24 rules. We don't have time for 24, but I picked 12 rules based on the audience here to share with you guys. Now, I have limited time, so we're going to go insanely fast, okay? But first off, for those of you who don't know Mindvalley, these rules don't make any sense, and you won't understand the significance unless you know what we actually build. So again, we went from a crappy website, the one I just showed you, to being in Apple stores as the personal growth app selected by Apple to demonstrate features in iPhone 16. I'm going to play a 30-second video to show you what this looks like so you understand the leap. Could we get sound, please? Yeah. Yeah. Settle down into a comfortable position. I'm a post-up, baby. Hello. Welcome to our quest. I'm a post-up, baby. And this is just showbiz. Babe, I'm the truth. And the things I got no emotions. But my flow's go deeper than the ocean. To be frank, I was going through the motions. I'm saying singer on my lyrics. I ain't seen nobody me do it like this. Energy looking like I got high vis. First take man, that's just what I did. Hard drive looking like a killer hit list. I'm a post-up, baby. And this is just showbiz. Show. Okay. Now, it's not only that, okay? We are also looking at taking what we build in an app and creating a physical event. Darius gave me permission to share Future Human, which is the big event we're bringing to Expo Dubai next year. We've collected 23,000 case studies from clients because we are so precise about how we transform human beings. On CNN, we were featured by Zayn Asher, not because of PR, but because Zayn Ash's life was changed by our app and she wanted to shine a light on it. Naveen Sheth said, we're building the new Harvard or Stanford of our era. All of this were because of these principles that I'm about to share with you. But here's the key thing I want you to understand. All of this was done with 0 bank loans and 0 venture capital. 0 bank loans, 0 venture capital. Because honestly, when I pitched what I wanted to do to venture capitalists, they thought I was insane. So our competitors, Calm, Headspace, Masterclass, amazing companies, they have raised hundreds of millions of dollars. We compete with them. We've raised 0, and we're fully profitable because of these rules. Now, again, it didn't start this way. I said the first 10 years were bonkers. The last 10 years, though, things have been growing very steadily, predictably, because of these rules. Now, again, we're going to go super fast. Are you guys ready? All right, let's start with how to be innovative, okay? So the core principle here is this: change and expansion are inevitable, and the world is growing at a crazy rate. You know, when I bring new employees into my company, the biggest complaint I get is, why are things always changing? And here's the story I explained to them. When our company was doing about 1 million in revenue, our biggest competitor was doing 100 million. Our big competitor was a huge publishing house, and they sold personal growth audios. This was 2005. We were at 1 million, they were at 100 million. 2015, we were at around 30 million, they were at 1 million. How did they lose? And they brought us in to acquire them. Ultimately, we said no. But how did a big company with 100 million in revenue in 10 years lose 99% of their market share? Well, the world changed in 10 years. First, YouTube launched in 2005, and YouTube made content primarily free. And then Facebook and social media started taking off. Twitter emerged, I believe, around 2008. The iPhone was launched again in 2008. They were not ready for apps. Now, this was a lot of change in 10 years, but here's the crazy thing. All of that change you are going to see in the next 4 years. In fact, Peter Diamandis, the futurist, said between 2022 and 2026, we will see a century worth of change. A century. That's 1900 to 2000. That is the advent of flight, the man landing on the moon, the invention of the transistor, the emergence of the internet, 100 years, we're going to see in the next 4 years. And if you're paying attention, it's already happening. How can businesses survive? Well, you need certain rules in place to innovate, innovate, innovate. That's why the first category we're looking at is innovation. So here's one of the most important rules in our company, okay? 10% of all our revenue is put in an innovation fund. 10%. And every year, we look at this 10% in our innovation fund, and we decide how to deploy it, and we bet on new ideas. And sometimes we bet on ideas that may emerge from employees. So I bet on an idea from an employee, a wonderful guy by the name of Ajit Nawalkar, to start trading coaches. Today, that's a $20 million in revenue business because we are investing in new ideas that could even disrupt our core company. So, do you have an innovation fund? Are you setting aside a certain amount of your revenue to be able to experiment, to put into R&D? Big companies do this. Startups often don't. You should. Now, rule number 2, if you want to innovate, you need to also create space. Innovation doesn't happen if you are just cramming new things on the table. Okay, so imagine a table, and the table is filled with food, and someone creates a new dish. There must be a place on that table to put that dish. So you got to look at the table and see what is the least likely good tasting dish on that table, chuck it away so that new dish could come on. This is how we do it in Mindvalley. Every quarter, every team has to come to me. So we have 25 teams. Every quarter, every team comes to me, and we just have a 10-minute conversation with the team. Okay, so it's really fast. And this is what it looks like. Start, stop, finish. They have to present to me 20% of their bottom work that they are going to cut. Now, this is really interesting because to know what you're going to cut, everything you do has to be measurable. So I'm expecting every person on the team to know exactly what their data is, what are their OKRs, what are they measuring, to measure all their activities and to confidently be able to come to me and say, okay, this was at the bottom, this is what we're going to cut. This is what it actually looks like when we have that conversation. This is our internal wiki. So this is an example from our blog team. So you can see these are the things that they want to start doing. This is innovation. Okay, so innovation is new things to start doing. But to create this innovation list, they have to tell me what they're going to stop. And then what to continue is what they're doing right that they want to continue doing. So do you have a start, stop, continue? Most of us get into a predictable cadence. We do the same thing over and over and over again. Encourage your people to cut 20% of their bottom work every single quarter and have that conversation with them. So, summary, how to be innovative. Now, of course, there's more rules that we bring into the team, but these are two that I wanted to share with you today. Understand that change and expansion are inevitable. We are going to see 100 years worth of change in these 4 years between 2022 and 2026. Allocate funds to an innovation pool. And third, have everyone in your company practice start, stop, continue. So we have covered innovation. Now let's go on to how to rise to greatness. This is very connected to innovation because if you can get your people and yourself to elevate to greatness, to building great things, innovation happens naturally. So how do we encourage people to rise to greatness? Now here I want to share some rather unconventional ideas. So the first one is this. The bigger the goal, the easier it gets. I learned this from one of our Mindvalley authors, Naveen Jain. So I was listening to Naveen Jain speak, and if you know Naveen Jain, he's one of the most awarded entrepreneurs, okay? The guy is a billionaire. He shares an island with Richard Branson. He was the first private citizen to get the rights to put a robot on the moon. And Naveen came from a village in India. One of the unique things about Naveen is that he's constantly thinking bold. In fact, he's written books on this topic, books on moonshots. And he said this, we think the bigger the goal, the harder it is. This is BS. The bigger the goal, the easier it gets. Because smart people want to work on something profound and bold. So the bigger your goal, the more smart people you get. And then when you get the smart people, it's more likely that you would hit the goal. Then the investors come because the investors are all going to get FOMO. And when the investors come, you can say, go away, I got this, because you have the smart people. And now they're even more excited about throwing you money. This is why the bigger the goal, the easier it gets. I'm quoting, paraphrasing Naveen Jain. But do you see the elegance here? If you want to build something great, if you want to attract smart people do not want to play small. How many of you here don't want to play small or want to do something beyond average? If you want people like you, give them the gift of pursuing something bold. The greatest gift you can give your people is a chance for boldness. That Future Human Festival that we're doing in Dubai, I didn't come up with the idea. A girl on my team who's worked with me for 10 years, Kadi, came up with the idea. She said, Vishen, when we do events, it's typically a couple of thousand people. Let's create the web summit of Mind, Body, Soul. I'm like, Kadi, I like that idea. It's bold. This is the money we have in our innovation fund. This is what I'm allocating to you. Go do it. You see how that works? So the innovation comes naturally. As founders, we often think we have to be the ones to innovate. I disagree. If you have the right systems, you can get your people to rise to greatness. Now, how do you do this? So this is the counterintuitive truth, and it comes from Larry Page of Google. I learned this from Larry Page. How many of you here know what OKRs are? Okay, and if you don't know what OKRs are, it's okay. Go on Google after this, go on YouTube, search for Vishen OKR. I have a 90-minute talk on OKRs. It's basically goal setting for the company where every goal is measurable. Okay, it's a whole different talk. Now, many companies use OKRs, objectives and key results. Think of them as, if you have a team, what are the top 4 goals for the team? But Google does it a little bit different. And this rule was instituted by Larry Page. Now, first I want to preface. A good goal should scare you a little and excite you a lot. So in other words, if you have a team, the goals that team are setting for themselves should make them a little nervous, but it should also excite the heck out of them. But what tends to happen in companies is the employees want to hit the goal, so they lower the bar. They naturally create goals which they want to hit because they want that bonus, they want that reward, they want that accolade. They want to be saying, yes, I hit my goal. So your employees and the way natural companies run actually disincentivize boldness. And this is why many companies don't innovate. So what did Larry Page do? He created this rule. The best teams in Google and the best teams in Mindvalley should actually only be hitting 75% of your goals. Now think about that. That's counterintuitive. If you're hitting 100% of your goals, it means you are playing too small. If you're hitting 75% of your goals, so if you have 4 goals, you're failing on 1, you are actually on the right track. Now, how do you do this? You implement something called the 50-50 rule. So again, let's go back to OKRs, right? This is a team that has 3 OKRs. And these are actual screenshots from my company. Now, what is going on over here is you'll notice this star. This star means stretch goals. So the 50-50 rule is this: 50% of your goals or 50% of your OKRs must have a 50% chance of failing. Let me repeat. 50% of your goals should have a 50% chance of failing. So the team has 4 goals. 2, they should know they can hit, but 2 should be a coin toss. Therefore, they will only at the end hit 75% of their goals. When you do this, what happens is that you create incredible innovation in your company, because people are not afraid to fail. But to do so, there are a couple of changes you got to make. You got to untangle bonuses and promotions from hitting the goal. So at the end of the quarter, what happens is people look at their OKRs and then they self-evaluate. Again, this is the OKR model that Intel and Google uses. So someone might say, okay, I'm giving myself an A for this goal, even though I didn't hit the whole goal, because market conditions changed and it made it a lot tougher, but I'm proud that I tried, right? So you are not evaluating your employees, they are self-evaluating. And in fact, this is exactly what Google does. And it is what is prescribed in the book, Measure What Matters, by John Dower, who was the early advisor to Google and one of the founders of Intel. Okay, now we go on to rule number 4. So 50% of your goals should have a 50% chance of failure. Rule number 4 is connected to that. If it's not art, it's not worth it. I really loved what I heard Darius say earlier today when he expressed how he was disappointed that during a particular moment of this event, the mass of entertainers he had created, things didn't logistically go right. And it's good for founders to actually care about tiny details like that. Because in the world that's about to emerge, quality matters, aesthetics matter, art matters. If you're not putting out something that you're proud of, why do it? So one of the goals we have in our company is, if it's not art, it's not worth it. Now, how do you measure that? Anyone here heard of NPS scores? Okay, so an NPS score is a net promoter score. Every time we put out an idea, a product, an event, we send out a survey and we ask people, on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely are you to recommend this to a friend or family member? That's it. That's the classic NPS score methodology, right? So NPS, if everyone says, I'm not going to recommend it, you get minus 100. If everyone says they'll recommend it, you get 100. This is extremely hard. The NPS for iPhone, when it came out, was approximately 82. The NPS for the Tesla car, when it came out, was a 95. These are great products. That's why these companies are so amazing. You should be measuring your NPS because it's a reflection of the quality of your work. So at Mindvalley, our rule is anything under 50, we have to improve or kill. If we launch a product and it can't get 50, we kill it. Anything above 50 in NPS methodology is considered outstanding. Our last event in Dubai, we had a small event for a goal-setting methodology called Lifebook. It was a $10,000 ticket event, $10,000. The NPS was a perfect 100 because we did so much, the little quality, the fine-tuning. Now, I want to state, we lost money on this event. We did, because we spent so much on just the little things. For example, we added a boat cruise. Everybody got a custom-designed silver pendant for participating. So we lost money. That's okay for year one. But we wanted to get the NPS so high that when we bring it back in year two, these original customers tell their friends. So NPS is our obsession. You must be obsessed with art. So again, summary, how to rise to greatness. The bigger your goal, the easier it gets. Remember OKRs and the 50-50 rule. 50% of your goal should have a 50% chance of failure. And finally, if it ain't art, it's not worth it. You guys following me? Okay, how am I going so far? Is this pace good? Do I need to speed up or slow down? I have no idea what you said, so I'm just going to continue at the same pace. No, I know you guys said slow down. The point is, if I slow down, here's what's going to happen. Okay, firstly, use your phone, take pictures, reflect on this at the end of it. But if I slow down, what happens is I find that high energy entrepreneurs, CEOs, the type of people in this room, your mind starts drifting. Okay, so we're going to actually move with speed. And point number 3 is literally that, how to move with speed. So you have innovation, you have the goals. How do you create really, 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 really quickly? Core principle, operations must move at the speed of visionaries. Okay, so I had a conversation with a process engineer that we brought into the company. So the process engineer said, Vishen, the way we are sending out campaign emails is bad, right? You're coming up with campaigns at the last minute. This is bad. I want us to plan all our campaigns 3 months in advance. I almost fired that process engineer because I said, you're basically thinking things wrong. When you're doing a marketing campaign, you got to take into account dominant emotion. If Trump wins or Kamala Harris wins, that is a dominant emotion that is in the world. And the very next day, 24 hours later, whatever email you're sending to your audience has to reflect that. In short, in marketing, you got to pivot on a dime. You got to move fast. So I told this process engineer, firstly, you're thinking about it wrong. You're thinking about it like a conventional business. That's not how we work. What I want you to solve is, if a visionary marketer in the company comes up with a campaign and the email has to go out in 8 hours, figure out how to get an email out and ready to go in 1 hour, 15 minutes. Changed her mindset. When we apply these things, all of the old ways of doing things disappear. We look at processes, we look at efficiency, and we're able to move at a dime. All my operations people must be able to move at my speed, or they can't do their job. They're out of it. So operations must move at the speed of visionaries. This is a really, really, really important thing I've learned. I do not slow down. The team has to build technologies, build models, build efficiency so they can keep up. Now, how do you do this? So rule number five is this. Every person, every team has a DNA. What is a DNA? It is a process document. You see, great companies are not built by great people. Great companies are built by great processes. Great people simply build those processes. So you have to build a company that is running on process, not people. The word that we use for process is DNA. I want to give you an example so this can sink in. When we launched our Mindvalley membership, we were launching a new program, a new course, a world-class course every 2 weeks. And it would take 3 days to write the sales page for that particular program. Now, when we launched Mindvalley membership in the middle of COVID, we wanted to update all of those sales pages. Wanted to make them good, wanted to make them really beautiful. But 3 days, a sales page, that was unacceptable. So what I did was I sat down with my copywriter and I said, help me understand, why does this take 3 days? We looked at the patterns. We looked at how he was writing the copy. And what we figured out is there is a DNA. Just like DNA tells your body how to evolve, there's a DNA, but it was stuck in this guy's head. There's a DNA to how the copy was being written. We documented that DNA in a 59-page document. I want to show you what it looks like. So, sales page copy DNA 2024. It looks something like this. Sorry, that's not a video, but it's basically a Google Doc. But if you were to scroll down, you will see that this is a 59-page document. Now, by breaking the thought process in a person's head into documentation, we brought the copywriting time down to 4 hours, from 3 days to 4 hours. That's a huge efficiency. Today it takes 4 hours to write copy. Now, of course, now with AI involved, it now takes 2 hours. Every single team, every single person has to have what is called a DNA. If somebody gets back to me in my team asking me a question, how to improve such and such, first thing I ask them is, show me your DNA. If they don't have that DNA, I know that person isn't doing their job right. So, DNAs. Now let's go on. Once you have DNAs, let's go on to the next idea, OODA looping and unified brains. I love this one, but this is really, really, really unconventional. Anyone here heard of the OODA loop? So, the OODA loop was created by a US Air Force colonel called John Boyd. What he noticed is that the best fighter pilots were the ones with the worst accuracy. Let me repeat that. The best fighter pilots had the worst accuracy. So the fighter pilots with the best accuracy, they were conserving bullets, right? They would really take their time to find the enemy jet and then boom, shoot that guy down. But the fighter pilots who were the best had the worst accuracy. They were shooting down more jets, but they were wasting more bullets. They would make faster decisions, miss more, but in the end, more enemy jets were downed. Now, if you're in battle, what do you care about? Wasting bullets or shooting down enemy jets? What do you guys care about, bullets or jets? Jets, right? What John Boyd noticed was a counterintuitive truth. The best fighter pilots were actually making decisions very rapidly, even though some of those decisions were wrong, okay? And the way they made a decision was through a process called OODA. Observe where the enemy jet is, orient to that jet, decide and act, pull the trigger. They were doing OODA really, really, really rapidly. Very often when they made a decision, it was the wrong decision, they wasted bullets. But in the end, they shot down more enemy jets. Now, the more accurate pilots were taking a slower time. Boyd observed that you could apply the same thing to management, and so he did. Now, I was at Singularity University. This was a class at Singularity University when they started talking about the OODA loop, and I want to show you this picture so you understand how some of the minds in Silicon Valley think. That's Larry Page. He was in the class with me. He's the founder of Google. You guys recognize this guy? Ray Kurzweil. He's the Edison of our modern era. He built a lot of the technologies that govern the world today. Both of them were on their mobile phone. When they started talking about OODA loops over here, this is not Photoshop, they were paying attention. I want you to pay attention to this because this is probably the key thing of all the points that you're going to learn, OODA looping. So here's an example of OODA. Now, these are 3 people in my team. Manon Dave is an award-winning engineer, 5 awards at CES. Jeffrey Perlman founded Zumba. Jacob Mulder is one of the top supplement scientists in the world. This is a WhatsApp thread, and what they are trying to do is figure out the design and branding for our supplement line. Now you can see 420. Okay, Jeffrey releases a video. Jacob sends his feedback. Manon, Jeffrey says, got it, that doesn't work. Manon gives his feedback. Between 4:25 and 4:32, 7 minutes, a decision is made. New supplement bottles, we know which supplement bottles to go with. And by the way, again, you will notice art, right? Everything we do is art. Those are supplement bottles. Massive decision made in 7 minutes. No reason for a meeting. Now, I do this all the time with my team, even with my new business partners. So I invested in a company called Lifebook. It's a big goal-setting company, acquired a stake in the company. Me and the founder of that company, we had to schedule a 1-hour call every week. A 1-hour call just so we could touch base. I was in Malaysia, he was in Hawaii, and it was always at an awkward time. I said, John, let's just scrap this call. Let's just talk on WhatsApp. You leave me a voice note, I'll leave you a voice note. Let's see how fast we can get things done. We measured it. In 17 minutes of back and forth on WhatsApp, we could make decisions faster than a scheduled 1-hour call. That is OODA. But here's the caveat. You're making decisions faster. You're bouncing things with your team. You are not caring about the meetings. But the caveat is this. You have to miss more. You have to be prepared to waste bullets. So in my company, we act when we are 90% correct. So this is really counterintuitive. Act when you're 90% sure, which means that 10% of your decisions will be wrong. If 10% of your decisions are not wrong, you're too slow. So if we sign an author, we know 1 in 10 authors are going to bomb. And if we are hitting 100% of our authors, succeeding, we're actually moving too slow. So to execute fast, to implement OODA, you have to waste bullets. Are you guys following me? How many of you here are perfectionists? You gotta get everything perfect. Now, of course, there are times when you must get things perfect. If something is going to be customer facing, a design, an aesthetic, a graphic has to be good, right? But many decisions, you have to give yourself the permission to fail. And when you can do that, when you can act when you're 90% sure, you can move a lot faster. Okay, so operations must move at the speed of visionaries. I don't hire regular operations people. You must have a DNA and you must be able to OODA loop. So now we are over here. Let's go on to number 4, how to grow in your career. Now, some of these rules might be more applicable to your employees than to you if you're a founder. But I encourage you to pay attention to this and to bring this to your employees because, the smartest people, they don't choose companies because of money. That's a misconception. They choose companies and they choose to work for founders and CEOs who allow them to grow, to develop their skills, to grow as a human being. I've seen this over and over again with the most brilliant people. It's not about the money, it's opportunity for growth. So how do you create that? How do you create a world where you can perfect yourself as you grow in your work? Core principle from Professor Sri Kumar Rao. Sri Kumar Rao is one of the top MBA professors of our generation. He's an author on Mindvalley. And one of the things that Professor Rao says is this. So, backstory. There was a conference happening in LA, a Mindvalley event. Professor Rao was on stage. After he got off stage, he came and he sat with me at the AV stand. And he said, Vishen, I really want to change the way American colleges are educating MBAs. So I said, well, what do you want to do? Tell me. He says, we must teach people consciousness in business. So I said, but Rao, we are teaching consciousness. He goes, no. You're confusing things. We are teaching ethics. After the Enron scandal, all MBA programs teach ethics. That's given. Consciousness, he said, is different. It's a way of understanding who you are and why your soul is here. So I said, do tell me more. He says, what we need to teach founders, CEOs, MBAs is that the most important thing is not their business. If your business hits $1 billion, it doesn't matter. If your business fails, it doesn't matter. The most important thing is, did you grow? And that really hit me. Let me repeat. The most important thing is not the success of your business or the failure of your business. You got to detach from that. The most important thing is, are you growing? And if you're growing and growing and growing, failure is never really failure. And success will never really go to your head. It's all about the game of, are you refining yourself and getting better and better and better at what you do? Many people forget that. Many founders get so absorbed in their business that they don't grow. And I was there. In the first 10 years of the business, I put on weight, my health went to crap. So many things happened, and the business was stuck. When I started making space to grow, when I started following Rao's advice. Now, Rao's advice is this: your business is like a gym. When you walk out of a gym, you feel beaten, you feel tired, but you know your muscles are rebuilding and you're going to be stronger than ever the next day. When crappy things happen in your business, you have to take that same attitude. What did I learn? Every bad event that happens is a lesson in disguise, and you're going to be able to do better the next time. Don't beat yourself over it, just like you shouldn't be beating yourself if you come out of a gym and your body just feels like it needs rest. So, how do we create this? Now, the first thing that I do with my employees is I teach them reframes. So here's a really interesting thing. I personally believe stress is an illusion. Stress doesn't exist. We have created it with our mind. Busyness is another thing. Busyness doesn't exist. So I want to share with you a story. I used to have a woman in my team called Karina. She managed our social media. And Karina got really overwhelmed because people would come to her and said, hey, Karina, I need this video out on YouTube. I need this post out on Instagram. And she would go, I can't do it right now. I'm busy. I'm busy. I'm busy. And every time she said that, she would slightly offend the other person and she would feel this great stress. And one day this insight dawned on Karina. She started changing the word. She stopped using busy. She simply, gently, firmly said, can't do it right now. I'm fully optimized today, but send me an email. I will get to it in I'll get to it tomorrow. By changing the reframe from busy to fully optimize, she got less stressed out. She didn't offend the other person, and she was able to do a better job. How you frame things will literally affect your body. Don't believe me? Kelly McGonigal gave a TED talk on this. People who believe that stress is affecting their health negatively will see their health depreciate with stress. But if you believe stress doesn't impact your health won't go down if you're stressed out. Another example is anxiety versus excitement. There was a university researcher who noticed that college kids that he was teaching would feel the same biochemistry when they were running onto a football field or taking an exam, right? Heartbeat would go up, they would feel this sensation of nervousness, they would sweat a little bit. But when running onto a football field, they labeled it excitement. When going for an exam, they labeled it stress. So he did a simple experiment for students doing the graduate exam in America, the GRE. Now, the average score for the GRE is 710. Keep that in mind. He put a piece of paper on the exam wall, and the paper said something to this effect. We know it's normal to feel a little bit of anxiousness when you're sitting for the GRE, but I also want you to know that this anxiousness may not hurt your results. In fact, not only is it normal, but that tiny bit of anxiousness you feel, relax. It might actually improve your scores. That's it. Just a 30-second insight. Now, the people who entered the exam room that had that on the wall, their GRE exam scores increased by a whopping 9%. It went from 710 to 770. That's huge, guys. That makes a difference in terms of what university you go to. They didn't study more. All they did was spend 30 minutes reading a note that reframed anxiousness into, oh, this is okay, into excitement. You can do this as well in your mind. So I don't really experience stress. I can experience days when I feel tired, take some coffee. I can experience days when I feel there's a lot happening. I never in my mind even use the word overwhelm. In fact, one of the reframes that I learned this from a great mentor of mine, Barry Morgan. He's a really powerful spiritual teacher. Barry Morgan says this. He told me once, Vishen, you're addicted to challenges. I'm like, Barry, what do you mean? I love challenges. I solve challenges. He goes, yes, that's why you're addicted. Every time I ask you, how is life going? You mention another challenge in your business that you smartly solved. But why do you feel you have to keep solving these challenges? Why are you addicted to challenges? Why can't you just choose to live an easy life? I go, Barry, what are you talking about? And Barry, who's honestly one of the top manifesting teachers out there, said, we will manifest the reality that we choose. If you as an entrepreneur believe that you're good at challenges and you calculate your self-worth by the challenges you solve, the universe will keep giving you challenges. So he said, Vishen, I want you to change your frame. I want you to tell this to yourself. I solve all problems that come my way in a fun and easy way. I solve all problems that come my way in a fun and easy way. That's my reframe. Use this if you think this is useful for you. Why do we believe that being an entrepreneur has to be stressful? Has to involve hard work? Has to involve challenges? Munib said, every time he sees me, I get younger and younger. It's because I don't live by the same dumb rules. I don't work hard. I don't face challenges. And when if they come, I solve them in a fun and easy way. And I don't recognize the existence of stress. If that makes me unrealistic, so be it. But you can choose this as well. And if you want to really go deep in these ideas, get the book, The Expectancy Effect. It's a new book that came out this year, and it shows you all the scientific studies that show you that what you expect about the world will be the world for you, all the way down to how your body heals itself. So much of what you think are the rules of business, completely made up. Collective consciousness or a collective delusion. You don't have to plug in. Everything that comes your way, you can solve in a fun and easy way. You can choose to work just as much as you need and still get results. And stress can be vaporized. Now, rule number 8. What I just said is easier said than done. But you can get there if you do this one thing. And that one thing is make time for personal growth. Make time for personal growth. I recommend the Mindvalley philosophy is 20 minutes a day. Invest in personal growth. So one of the things we do in our company is we encourage people to go to the gym. We encourage people to meditate. This is a really important thing. And let me tell you how we do it. I was interviewing Daniel Pink, okay? He's an HR expert. And in the interview, okay, you guys want to photograph that slide? Let me go back. Here, photograph that slide so you have this as a note. Sorry, I'm getting used to this clicker. Got it? Okay. Daniel Pink in an interview. Okay. You guys got it? I'm going to step out of the way. These are AI generated, by the way. These are not my real employees. Come on, guys, take a picture. It can't be that hard. All right, now, Daniel Pink said something really interesting when I interviewed him. He said, Vishen, so many American companies are breaking their employees. They demand that you come in at 9 a.m. in the morning. And what he said is, this is actually bad. Now, at that time, we had our morning huddle when employees come in. So our office is in Malaysia, right? Everything I said about Mindvalley, all our competitors have the benefit of Silicon Valley. No, we were in Malaysia because I lost my US visa for some stupid reason. That's a whole other story. So we were in Malaysia. And we had our morning huddle at 11. And an advisor said, Vishen, move your morning huddle to 9:30 a.m. so people come in earlier. And I said, no. And the reason I said no is because of Daniel Pink's idea of morning autonomy. He said, you want to give your employees time in the morning to take care of what they need. Maybe to cook a good breakfast and not buy some, artificial food. Maybe to actually dress their kids and give their kids a hug before the kids go to work. Maybe time to meditate, time to pray, time to go to the gym. Stop taking that away from people. Why do we demand that people show up at 9? And that's one of the reasons why I have such good employee retention. Like the best people stay at Mindvalley for decades plus because they say they get to grow. They get to use the gym. They get to meditate. They get that time with their kid. In fact, we are so about autonomy that we allowed our employees to vote if they wanted to actually show up in the office or work from home. Now, our office, by the way, was an Inc. magazine 2019 top 10 most beautiful office in the world. You can Google it, Mindvalley office, Kuala Lumpur. Only 30% of our employees choose to come to the office. 70% said they're okay working from home, and we allowed that. Again, other entrepreneurs said, Vishen, you are stupid. Why would you even give that poll to your employees? Of course, everybody wants to work from home. Now you're going to ruin your innovation. Last year, with 70% of our people working from home, we actually saw revenue per employee go up 40%. Here's why. Because if you actually look at LinkedIn data, only 10 to 15% of job offers on LinkedIn say they allow work from home. But something like 60% of job seekers are looking for work from home. And so we get so many great applications. And often the people who want to work from home are not because they are lazy. I have award-winning people on my team. Many of my employees are famous. One of my employees has a song coming out this month with Snoop Dogg. He wants to work from home because he's a father and he cares about raising his kids and he needs that creative space and they don't want to be stuck in a London traffic jam for an hour. So where did we come up with this crazy idea that you need an office? And this is hard for me to say because I spent millions on my office and I wasted that money. So give your employees morning autonomy. Okay, so that gives them space for personal growth. Rule number 9, learn fast and up-level every quarter. So there's this great book I read called The 4 Disciplines of Execution. And it's about moving fast, right? And one would think that that book is all about hustle, hustle, hustle. But no, that book actually says one of the 4 disciplines is non-negotiable learning time. The book says you should take 2 hours of your week, 2 hours of your week, and block it off. And no matter how busy work gets, it cannot creep into those 2 hours. Now, what do you do in those 2 hours? You up-level. If you're a CEO, you read books on being a better CEO, or maybe you study AI so you can bring it into your company. If you're in customer support, same thing, 2 hours. You study human relations, writing great emails, AI-assisted support, 2 hours. So all our employees, we encourage them to do that. When in the early days of our company, we had a rule called, back then, the work week was 45 hours in Malaysia. we had a rule called the 40-45-hour rule. 40 hours you focus on your job, 5 hours you focus on reading or learning, and we give you a budget to get better at your job. So you must give your employees 2 hours a week minimum, where you are paying them, guys. You are paying them. This is not free time, but you're giving them a chance to up level. If you do this, you will keep good people longer, and your people will up level. They're not just riding the hamster wheel, they're getting better and better, and that will reflect in what you see in terms of their output. Okay, so again, growth must be the most important thing. Busyness is a state of mind. Personal growth is sacred. Learn fast and up level every quarter. And now we come to number 5, how to work as a team. 3 more rules, then we're done. Rule number 10, it's the process, not the person. What did I say earlier? Great companies are built by great process. Now, a lot of people, especially the younger an employee is, the more they associate themselves with the process. We got to break that. Because someone can fail at something, but it doesn't mean they fail. It simply means their process is broken. So when something goes wrong, you don't blame the person. You say, hey, can I look at your process? Here's the thing. When your email goes out, you are writing it with bad grammar. Let's use Grammarly or ChatGPT and make this part of the process to correct it. Boom, problem solved. It's always the process, not the person. But many people don't get that. I remember once I was giving feedback to someone and that person got really offended. I said, my God, this blog post is absolutely horrific. The person got really offended. And she stormed out of my office. And I went up to her and I'm like, why did you get offended? She said, you said I suck as a writer. And I realized I hadn't had this conversation with her. So I explained to her, I sat her down and I said, no, you are an amazing writer, but this particular blog post is horrific. Let's look at your process. And the process was that she had skipped the research part. So employees don't get this naturally because many of them grew up maybe in families where they were blamed. Maybe they had school teachers who put them down. You got to be a leader and make people separate themselves and their identity from their process. And now you create a healthy organization where people understand the power of process. So this applies to feedback. It's the process, not the person. I'll let you take a picture of this. You guys got it? You're getting better at that camera thing. That's awesome. Okay, now rule number 11. This is crazy. I cannot even believe this case study. I was interviewing Sean Aker, who wrote the book, The Happiness Advantage, right? Now, Sean Aker is a brilliant Harvard researcher, and he studies organizational philosophy. So Sean Aker shared a case study with me in this interview. He was working with a company, I believe it was in Omaha, an insurance company. They were doing $650 million in revenue, and revenues were stagnating. So they brought him in to work on the culture. Now, the CEO of the company, Gary Baker, told Sean Aker, I don't believe in all of this fluffy stuff, but you go do your thing, and let's see what happens. Sean Aker implemented a rule in this company called a 2-minute appreciation rule. You guys are going to love this. When an employee sits down at their job, they take out their iPhone, and they set a timer for 2 minutes. Now, in that 2 minutes, they can send a voice note of appreciation. They can type an email. They can send a Slack message. It doesn't matter what they do, but they send a note of appreciation to another employee. If you give them less than 2 minutes, the note typically isn't really profound. If you give them more than 2 minutes, it feels like too much time. 2-minute appreciation. They did this for a few months. This is what happened. In 18 months, revenues went from $650 million to $950 million. That's almost a 50% increase. The number of job applications coming into the company went up 270%. Google flew down to see what on earth they were doing on their campus. All because of this 2-minute appreciation. So are you doing this? I really loved when Darius called up one of his team members, Shahar, and publicly thanked her. That was a powerful demonstration of this. If you can do this with your employees, you're going to see massive, massive, massive spurts in their productivity and their innovation. And by the way, they'll do it back to you. And that might be just the fuel you need, because being a founder or CEO can be really tough, especially if you believe in stress. So 2-minute appreciation, okay? And this brings us to the final rule. And this is a very important one. We're entering a new age. And this is the age of small teams. Peter Diamandis said the next billion-dollar company might be created by a team of 3 people. I believe so, because we're seeing huge leaps in AI. And guys, what you're seeing in terms of AI is just the beginning. We're about to enter the age of AI agents. And if you don't know what an AI agent is, it's basically an AI running other smaller versions of itself as employees to solve big problems. That's at least the simplest way I can explain it. But this is going to eradicate the need for a lot of jobs, and I predict that by 2030, globally, we're going to start seeing a 3-day work week. But this is happening at an exponential rate. So you don't want to aggressively grow your company. You want to shrink your company. We've been shrinking our company every year for the last 2 years because of AI. But how do you do it? When you're innovating, when people are asking for more resources, how do you shrink? Well, this is a model that we use. First, quote by Margaret Mead, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has." So the model we use is called Assist. I developed this system. When a member of any team comes to me and says, "Vishen, we're innovating like crazy. I need more resources. I need more people," we ask them to fill this out. The first thing is automation. Can the issue be solved with automation? Maybe ChatGPT, maybe a new feature by Claude, maybe new like SaaS services which are out there. 2, simplicity. Remember the 20% rule? Show me what on your list of things are the bottom 20% that you can cut out so you don't need a new person. 3rd, software. Can it be solved with software? We love using Airtable. Airtable actually is the most useful software I've ever found because you can build any other type of tool on it. Can it be solved by software? And time logging. This is interesting. Time logging is where we actually get everyone in the team to log their time in 30-minute increments for 1 week. And then we analyze this and we say, okay, there's a huge productivity dip here because there are things happening on this team that maybe we don't have to do. So I'll give you the classic example, right? We're looking at our social media team. There was a person who was saying, she's so busy, she's so busy, she's so busy, she needs another member to do the work. We had a time log. She was spending 4 hours a day responding to comments. And we decided, well, we just don't need to spend 4 hours a day responding to comments. Spend an hour. Now she's freed up 3 hours a day. We didn't need that extra hire. But to discover that, we had to time log. So we make our employees time log. Okay, and those, in summary, guys, are the 12 rules. It's the process, not the person. 2-minute daily appreciation, small teams of 8 players. So those were the 12 rules I wanted to share with you guys. All good? Wait, not done yet. Not done yet. Thank you. And by the way, I love getting your feedback. My Instagram is @Vishen. So if any of you have any questions or any feedback, just write to me, okay? I want to know what you think because, as I said, this is the first time I'm sharing this outside my team. The slides you saw are literally the slides we use for our team. So I have 8 minutes left. And I told Darius I'm happy to come and speak here at Gladiator Summit. And what I want to do is I want to speak about the event I'm doing in Dubai in January, Future Human. So can I just share that with you guys really quick? Okay, so if you enjoy this style of training, this is what we're doing with Future Human. We're looking at the most important skills you need in 2025. Day 1 is about AI and improving your brain and cognition. It's this type of content. Day 2 is optimizing health and wellness so you reverse your age. Day 3 is manifesting. So that's Future Human. Amazing speakers are going to be there. Now, we wanted to do something really big. We want this to be the Web Summit of Personal Growth. So we're working with so many other people and who do personal growth in Dubai to bring this together. So again, day 1, if you really care about AI productivity, this is for you. Day 2 is about longevity. Amazing speakers like Dave Asprey, who created the biohacking movement. Day 3, again, incredible speakers. Stephen Bartlett, by the way, is going to be announced as a speaker soon. Anyone know Diary of a CEO? Bartlett is amazing. Eve, the multi-platinum Grammy Award-winning rapper songwriter, will be there. And it ends with a really incredible party in the Dubai Dome. Also, there's a major speaker that we're announcing December 5th, who is probably one of the biggest names in global wisdom. But we can't announce him. Darn, I just gave it away that it's a guy. We can't announce it till December 5th. And it's happening in the Expo Center because we wanted to go really big, and there's a big closing event at the Dome. So all of that is there. Prices are very affordable because this is our first time doing it. So we want to get you guys to see, what this is about. We don't do this for money. In fact, at most of our events, we lose a little bit of money, but it helps get the brand out. Now, what I want to do is I want to give good rewards to you guys so that if you guys happen to buy a ticket, you really get a good deal. So, one more thing we're doing. We're building an AI to introduce people. So when you come, an AI will be looking at your bio and predicting who are the 5 people at the event that you're most likely to be close friends with, because community is so important. So take that picture, the QR code. Now here's what we'll do. Everyone who buys in the next 48 hours, I'm going to come back to it, don't worry. I'm going to give you Mindvalley membership for free. This is, Mindvalley membership is it's just really cool. We were, in fact, you can even experience it on Apple Vision Pro. It's 100 of the world's best programs from leading teachers, 1,000 meditations. Really, this is the thing that's featured in Apple stores for the first 100. Okay, and I'll also give you access to the full talk. So you'll get an email if you buy a ticket to Future Human. Even if you buy like the smallest ticket, I'll give you access to the full talk. You won't just get these 12 rules, you'll get an additional 12, so 24 rules. So you can go deeper, you'll have the slides and everything. You can just, watch the talk and take the notes. I'm going to bring it back, okay? First 50 people, I'm going to give you Lifebook. This is the world's most advanced goal-setting program, and it's about to get a huge AI upgrade. $500 product. I'm going to give this to the first 50 people, and then the first 20 people, you're going to get something else. Me and Reagan are doing a Masters of Manifesting event in Dubai. It's 16 hours, 200 people. It's a $7,000 ticket, $6,999. You're going to get that free, okay, for the first 20 people. So everybody gets everything. You get the recording of this talk and the full 24 rules. You get Mindvalley membership. You get, first 50 people get Lifebook. First 20 people will also get Masters of Manifesting. You can see the ticket prices are super easy. That's the QR code. Thank you, guys. If you already bought a ticket, message me. We'll take care of you, okay? Okay, so I have 4 minutes. Should I do any Q&A or? Okay. Okay, several people are yelling and the lights are really bright and I'm completely blinded. All I hear are sounds. So maybe we could.
Here. What's your name? Dr. Yes.
Perfect.
With so many things that you're doing, so many initiatives, so many people you're interviewing, how do you keep your focus? How do you plan for these various things that are coming? Don't you get distracted?
Yeah, of course I do. But just like any other team in Mindvalley, I have OKRs, right? So I have OKRs that are my key objectives for the quarter. And every quarter I update the OKRs. Now, it is good for a founder to be distracted. Think about Elon Musk. He's doing many different things, but he has a good team that's running everything. So it's okay for me to be distracted, and in fact, that can be a good thing. I want to be paying attention to hot new technologies. I want to be looking at new companies I can acquire. That's good, but my team cannot get distracted. But again, to avoid like ridiculous distraction, I too have OKRs that I typically delegate to key people in my team. Okay? Thank you. That's a really great question. Next question.
Put your hand up if you have a question. I'll come to you. Okay, I see you over here. Go on, stand up for me. Stand up for me. What's your name?
Majd, I just want to ask you, what percentage do you give for the internal work and what percentage you give for the external work you do outside? So meditation, stuff, going inside yourself and fixing yourself from inside, and what's the percentage of the outside work?
Very good question. So I don't believe in the idea that you need to wake up in the morning and run 3 kilometers and then meditate for 1 hour and then go to the gym and then spend 30 minutes cooking the best breakfast and walking around getting sunlight in your eye. That is a lot of overprescription. I do 1 personal growth practice, 6-phase meditation, which I wrote a book about, every morning. It takes me 17 minutes. That's it. And then I drink coffee. and I dive into my work. And sometimes I get on Instagram just for the heck of it, because I want to see what's up with the world. I don't do anything else. I do go to the gym every other day for no more than 30 minutes. Now, it's not about the number of things you do for personal growth. It's about what's in here. You guys have heard, okay, let me explain it this way. How does Elon Musk make billions of dollars in a given day? I think last week he made something like $60 billion. He's not working for that money. He's built systems. The money comes to him passively. Personal growth is like that. You build systems in your head. I have a belief in my head, and these systems are called beliefs. So habits are what you do. My most profound habit is the 6-phase meditation, but the beliefs are what keep me rock solid. I have a belief that I age at half the rate of a normal human being. And if you read the expectancy effect, your beliefs will actually govern your health. I have a belief that I am hyperproductive in the morning and I don't need breakfast because I practice intermittent fasting. I have a belief that I am resilient and immune to stress. I have a belief that all problems that come my way, I solve in a fun and easy way. I have a belief that I deeply care about my employees and I'm a good leader. Those beliefs are what govern you. Those beliefs are the most important thing. If you are growing those beliefs, you can do incredible things in record time, but it's a function of your beliefs. Now, to get those beliefs, you got to practice personal growth. You got to attend events. It's great that you guys are here, because what are we doing over here? We're giving you practices and beliefs. But the beliefs, guys, are more important than the practices. So I hope you were paying attention to when I spoke about beliefs like reframing. Okay? That's how I adjust my time, and that's how I'm so productive. Time's up. Thank you, guys.